Good morning and welcome to Adult Story Time this morning. If you recall, last week we started in on a new book with this next series we're going to do, and the book is called The Grass is Always Greener Over the Septic Tank, and it was written in the 70s by Erma Bombeck, who always had kind of a funny sense of humor and looking at life. And last week's story we talked about looking for and selecting the perfect home in the suburbs or out in the country. Today, the story is entitled Lot Number 15436. Where are you? We must have driven 2.5 hours before we found our house. Are you sure this is it? Asked my husband. I'm sure, I said tiredly. This is the 8th house from the corner, and the builder always staggers his styles so they won't all look alike. I counted them. There were the Williamsburg, the Richmond, the Shenandoah, and the Pee-wee, a Williamsburg, a Richmond, a Shenandoah, and this is our Pee-wee. I thought it was supposed to look like Mount Vernon, whined our daughter, with the big pillars. But it does have pillars, I said, pointing toward the 4 supports that look like filter-tipped cigarettes. Will they grow? Asked my son. Children, please, said my husband. Then turning to me, he asked, Happy? I looked at the packing boxes stacked at the curb, the mailbox on the ground, chunks of plaster embedded in the mud, windows dusty and speckled with paint, and said, I wish I could tell you in front of the children. Well, let's go in and get settled, he said, and take your muddy boots on the porch inside. What muddy boots? I said. Aren't they yours? They're mine, said a woman coming out of one of the bedrooms. Who are you? Asked my husband. I live here, she said. Isn't this 5425 Ho-Hum Lane? He asked. Yes, but it's 5425 Ho-Hum Lane Northeast. It used to be 18 Bluebird of Happiness Drive, but then the other street came through and changed it. When we bought it, it was 157 Squirrel Road, but Ho-Hum Lane is on a circle, and the even numbers change to the odd numbers at the house where the door is on backwards. You know the one. Right, that's 2 down from the chuck hole in the road where your car falls through. That's the one. Besides, 5425 isn't going to be your permanent number. That's a lot number and will change when the post office assigns your new one. Oh, where's the post office? We haven't been able to find it. No one is quite sure yet. You notice how everything blends with the surroundings out here? I've noticed. We went to a furniture store today and there was a bread cart in the window. We almost passed it by. I know, she said. The gas station on the corner blends in so well. I feel guilty if I pull in after dinner when he's cutting the grass. It was the council who decided they didn't want commercial businesses to look like commercial businesses. We had enough of that in the city. They wanted them to have that residential feeling. That makes a lot of sense, I said. I suppose so, she said, but the other night it was embarrassing. My husband and I went out to dinner, and there was a huge line, so Russell, my husband, slipped the maitre d' $2 and said, I think if you'll check your reservations, you'll find we're next. You came personally recommended. By whom? Asked the man in the black suit. This is a funeral home. As we continued the search for our new home, I expressed some concern that every time we left the house, we'd have to leave a kid on the front porch for a landmark. Things will be different, said my husband, when the builder puts in the shrubbery. How much landscaping comes with the house? I asked. He tilted his head and recited from memory. Let's see, we're down for 5 maples, 8 taxus, 6 evergreens, 2 ash, 4 locust, 109 living rose hedge plants, 2 flowering mother-in-law tongues, and a grove of 15 assorted colorful fruit trees. Hey, I think this is it, I said as he pulled into a driveway. We are officially home. We turned the key in the door. My husband and I raced through the house to the backyard to get a glimpse of the flatbed truck and the lift that would turn our barren patch of mud into a jungle. The yard was empty. Where's the shrubbery? Asked my husband. One of the children called from the house. Mommy, Daddy, the shrubbery is here. Where? Asked my husband. on the dining room table with the mail. We stood around the table. No one spoke as we viewed the envelope holding 5 maples, 8 taxus, 6 evergreens, 2 ash, 4 locust, 109 living rose hedge plants, 2 flowering mother-in-law tongues, and a grove of 15 assorted colorful fruit trees. My son had more foliage than that growing under his bed. "Gather it up," said my husband, "and put it in the garage. And for heaven's sake, watch the dog. He has 8 assorted fruit trees stuck in his tail." By noon the next day, we had planted the entire package. "What do you think?" asked my husband. "It looks like a missile site," I grumbled. "I think everything will survive the transplanting, with the exception of the maple tree. The dog, he didn't. Yep, his tail brushed against it and the trunk snapped in half. I'm worried about the flowering mother-in-law's tongues." "Why?" "They just spoke to me. They said, 'Help.'" And that is today's story. We're happy that you could join us. We're going to take some more out of this book next time and see the great adventures of moving into suburbia. So until then, my friends, stay safe, be healthy, and have a wonderful week.